Dear friends, welcome back to Automate with Rakesh. In this video, we are going to learn on advanced control flow. In your exam, you will get a lot of questions from advanced control flow. Now, what is advanced control flow? Here are two subtopics given for you. Describe the component of state machines. That means this topic is around state machines and when they should be used in projects. Build projects using state machine. So we have to learn around state machine in detail. Now let me show you. In Academy, if you go to the courses and then search for state machine. Here you would find some 3 different courses at the moment on state machine. Now which one to go for? The state machine in Studio 1 hour 25 minutes, which I see. If I click on this and then click on overview, I see this course was built using 2022.10 product version of UiPath Studio and it is applicable to newer version as well. So this is the course which I feel the ideal one to pick for. Now in this course, you enroll for this course and then get into the course. Now this course is of around 1 hour, 1 hour plus 1 hour 25 minutes, I think. Now in this one, which are the important topics or which are the important statements or the sentences which are important for the exam, I am going to cover. So let's get started. First of all, I'll give a demo. And once we complete the demo, then we will go through the academy and I'm going to highlight the important points for you, which will help you for your exam. So I hope you are ready. So do not skip the topic. Do not skip this video. Please do listen to me until the end. That is where you will gain complete knowledge on state machine. So let's get started. Now state machine. If you open your UiPath Studio and type state machine, in state machine, there are only 3 activities. How many activities? So all these important points, I'm going to type it on the notepad. You can make a note. So how many activities? There are 3 activities. Only 3 activities in total. Now what are those activities in state machine? The very first activity is state machine. The second activity is state. And the third activity is final state. So that means all you have to learn around these 3 activities: state machine, state and final state. Here you can see them. Now what is the state machine? Let's see first. First thing, in your designer panel, the very first activity, if you have to start your state machine project, the very first activity that you have to drag is your state machine activity, which will act like a scope. This is more like a scope. You might have worked on Excel scope, you might have worked on UI, browser open application activities, right? So all those activities are your scope activities. Similar way, for the state machine, this is the scope activity. That means all other activities will come inside this particular scope. All right. Now remember, the state machine scope activity contains a very important thing. This is called the start node. What is this? Called a start node. Simple. Now once you have the start node, the next thing that you have to drag and drop is your state activity. Now the state activity, you can drag and drop multiple state activities inside this. Okay, like that you can continue depending on different requirements. So let's say if you're dragging and dropping a couple of state activities, the activity which is connected to the start node is known as initial state. Very important key terms I'm giving you. This is known as initial state. Okay. Remember, the activity which is connected to the start node is known as initial state. So now we are learning the state. Okay. So what we are learning in the state? The first state activity connected to start node known as initial state. Is it clear? This is known as initial state because this is where your project would start. And remember, there is a concept. I'm going to talk about that later. If I say it now, it might confuse you. So for the moment, just remember, this is called initial state. Okay. Now let me delete all of this. Another activity that is called final state. There's another activity called final state. So what is the difference between initial state and final state? This is very important question. Okay, difference between initial state and final state. I mean difference between the state activity and final state activity. So what is the difference between the state activity and final state activity? Let me open the state activity. So I've given a name as initial state because it is connected to start node. Remember that. Otherwise, it is a state activity. Now, state activity contains three important components. What is that? Entry, exit, and transitions. So a state activity contains three important things. One is entry, second, exit, and the third, transition. Right now, if you look at the final state, the final state only contains entry. Remember that. Final state only contains entry. Getting it? Very important. This is also important from the exam point of view. The state activities contain three different components or sections: entry, exit section, and transition section. And the final state activity only contains what? Entry section. Now, why entry? Because here it is going to end. It is not going to get into some of the state. This is the end state. Right? Now let's take some example to understand this. Okay. Now how to utilize this initial state, how to utilize the final state. So these are the three activities: state machine, state activity, and final state. Now how to utilize, let's understand in detail. Now for this, so you have made this note, right? Important notes. I'm going to erase this. Now here we will take some example. First thing, we will take an example of a customer care. Okay, there's a customer care where the customer will approach and he wanted to take ticket for bus or a ticket for train, or he want a ticket for a flight. So these are the three options. So this customer care generally provides him the information. For bus ticket, you go to, right, the customer care generally provides him some information. What? You go to gate number 1, let's say. Train, you go to counter number. So based on the availability, who is sitting in the counter, let's say 1, 2, 3. Now for the flight, you should go to the counter number, let's say 160. So something like that. This is just, I'm creating a simple example so that you understand how to utilize state machine. Okay, pretty simple example to start with. Now what we will do, the moment you start your project, the project would enter to the initial state. The very first state activity is known as initial state. If I open this, there is an entry. Now in the entry, what I will do, I'll put a message box. Pretty simple example. You will first, why a simple example is required. Once you understand how it works, then you can go for complex to complex scenarios. But you should know how the flow works. When from entry it goes to exit, right? When from exit it goes to transition. If I leave it blank, what would happen? So all of these things are important to learn. Message box. Inside this, I'm saying, welcome to customer, travel agency customer care, let's say travel agency customer care. And I'm saying to continue, click OK. And when you are writing bigger sentences, it's better to open in a bigger window. And I'm saying to continue, click on OK, or OK. To exit, click on cancel. So I'm giving two different options. Sometimes a customer might be by mistake, he had come and you would like to come out of it. So you can click on cancel to exit. Now for that, so this is the message we have provided. For this message box, I'm going to create some two buttons, OK and cancel. Okay. Now what would happen the moment customer clicks on OK, then it should go to the next step. If he cancels, then it should go to the final state. Now for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable here and say choice. What is customer's choice? So here I've created a variable called choice. Done. Now I've kept a final state. Let's say the user is hitting on cancel, it should come to the final state. Now for that, the moment you connect a final state, so for example, this transition is not there. The moment you are connecting a state machine activity, a transition get automatically created. Remember this point. For example, the moment I'm connecting a final or whichever state activity or the moment you connect, a transition automatically gets created, and you can rename these transitions. Now, if you open this initial state, you can see from this state, you have given a transition to move to final state. Now, the very important part, you have to define a condition when it should go. Only when the customer clicks on cancel, and whatever the customer is clicking, that is getting stored in a variable called choice. With that information, let's go to this transition, click on that. And here there's an area called condition. In this area, I'm going to simply say choice is equals to, I'm going to say cancel. If the choice is equal to cancel, then it should move to final state. So when it comes to final state, I'm showing another message here. In this message box, let me type thanks, visit again. Okay, some message I'm putting when they are exiting. Now let's first understand this, how it is working. Okay, I'm going to run this. And what happened? As per design, this is the message box which is appearing. Welcome to travel agency customer care. To continue, click on OK. To exit, click on cancel. So we have designed for cancel. If I click on cancel, now the choice variable will get that cancel value, and as per the condition, it is coming to the final state. Clear? So how it is coming to the final state, we have understood. So this condition, this transition is very important. The kind of condition you put here, if the condition meets, then only it will come here. Now, if the condition is okay, if the customer is clicking on OK, let's say the customer has clicked on OK, then I want him to go to a state where I'll ask few more questions to him. So what I will do, I will use another state activity. Okay, so I want, let me keep the final state somewhere here. Okay, so if customer say cancel, then it goes to final state. But below here, I'm going to connect one dot. So this is the second state. Now here I'm going to ask few questions. What are the question I'll ask? Click on it and use a message box. I'll use a message box. And here I will ask him, okay, select what kind of travel you need. Bus travel or train, you would like to travel through train, or you would like to travel through flight. So I think instead of a message box, an input dialog box would do good. Input dialog box. Okay. Now if he has clicked on OK, then only it should come to the state. Now for it to come to the state, or let me keep the final state this side so that it doesn't confuse people. I'll connect this transition to, I'll connect it from here so that I understand. Okay, so it will come to this state, transition to. Now here we will create some condition. So click on this transition to, and the condition that we will keep, the choice, right? He made a choice which is not equals to OK, not equals to cancel, right? So choice is equals to, or you can say choice is equals to OK. If choice is equals to OK, then it should come to this state. If choice is OK, it should come to this state. Now in this particular state, I would like to show him some input dialog box where I'm saying how you would like to travel. Select how you would like to travel. This is the question I'm asking, and I'm going to show him some multiple choice. And here, let me give some options. So how do you write options here in this new input dialog box? I'm going to show you. So how do you write? You first use because this is a string, okay? So you'll simply use a double quote, and inside the double quote, you will say, let's say bus is my first option, separated by semicolon, and then train, separated by semicolon, and then flight. Okay, without any space, I'm simply writing more like one string, but separated by semicolons. Done. Now here I'm going to hit on save. Now what happened? Whatever the value he is going to select, it should get selected in a variable called, I'll create a travel choice. The variable name is travel choice. Done. Pretty simple. Now let's see if this is working or not. First of all, let's see if it is working or not. And then if he has made some selection, let's say he has made a selection, okay, I want to go through bus. Then if he wants to go through bus, I'll give him I'll connect a state activity here. Let's say he selects, I want to go through train. I'll give him a action state activity here. If he wants to go through this one, I'll give him like this. So now what happened? These are the three different state. Now the first state is around bus. The second state is for train. And the third state is for flight. Done. Now, as we have all this bus and all that, we have to start designing it. Let's say the customer has selected bus. Now in the transaction 3, if you click, I will say travel choice is equals to, and you have to write bus. Okay. Now let's see if this is first of all working or not. Okay. Bus, and I will go here and I'll pass some message to him and say go to counter number 121, some number I'm given for bus tickets. I'm providing which counter to go. This is the simple information I'm providing. Now let's say he got that information. At the end, I would give him I'll use another final state. I'll put another final. This can be organized in much better way, but as I'm just doing it live, so I'm just trying to organize as best as possible while I'm recording this. Okay, now here what would happen if he has clicked on OK, then it should come to the final state. In the final state, I want to put him a message wishing you safe journey. Wishing you safe journey. Clear? Now the same thing for train also we will do. Okay, now what we will do will simply try to copy this activity, go here, and the train, I will say go to counter number, let's say 131 for train tickets. Done. The same thing we will do for the flight. I'll go here, copy paste, and I'll say go to 161 for flight tickets. Done. Go back. Now all of this state, look at this, all of these are having error. Okay, reason being this should be connected. This should be connected. Okay, now for example here I will connect to this one. It should connect to final state, and after having the flight, then I would say safe journey, right? Wishing you safe journey. So I'll connect all of this to the final state. Drag and simply connect. So all are connected to the final state. So this is like wishing you safe journey. Now what happened here? Still I see an error because for train you have not provided a condition. So what is the condition for train? Travel choice is equals to, you have to say train. Okay, and then here I would say for this transition, I'll say travel choice for this one is equals to flight. Done. Pretty simple one. Now let's understand. So how it will work? It will come here, and in this it will say welcome to travel agency customer care. Now he has got two options, OK and cancel. If he cancels, then this button transition get activated and it will go to final state. Now in the final state, we have only one entry box. We have kept a message box which is going to say thanks, visit again. Let's say he has clicked on OK. If he has clicked on OK, then it will come here. What is the condition we have provided here? Choice is OK. Then it will come to this box. Now in this box we are providing some options to him: bus, train, flight, and all that. So we are giving some travel choices. Now all of these boxes you can name it as per your choice. Okay, now for the demo purpose I'm just leaving it as it is, but the best practice is to name them based on the activity that you're doing inside. Now let's say customer selected bus. So here there's a transition where I'm saying travel choice is equal to bus. Then it will come to this area. Now in this one, in the T6, I have not put any condition. So you can also have at least one transition without a condition. It is allowed. Okay, one without any condition, it is allowed. You cannot have multiple transitions without conditions. At least one is allowed. For example, let's say just for demo purpose I'm showing. For example, if I going to connect this to this, now here this error. If you read this, triggerless transition T6 of state bus must contain a condition. A state can only have one unconditional transition. So you can have one. Remember, it is a very important point. How many unconditional transition can you have in a state? That is one, only one. Okay, remember this important point. So here you can see in the message. So let me delete this because this was unconditional. This is also unconditional. So it is saying you can only have either one. You can't have two unconditional ones. So here in the T6, I didn't put any condition. So it's an unconditional transition. It'll simply go. If it comes here, it'll go here. Right? So this is done. Now let me run this and see whether it is working or not. Okay, so what is the very first thing is going to happen? It has come to the initial state. And welcome to travel agency customer care. To continue, click on OK. So if you cancel, it'll go to final state. We saw that. Now I'm going to click on OK. Now if I'm going to click on OK, I came to this box. Do you see this got highlighted? And in this box, we have kept our input dialog box saying bus, train and flight. Let's say I'm going to select bus and click on OK. So what would happen after that? It will come to this one. Go to counter number 121 for bus ticket. Click on OK. And after that, it should come to this one. Wishing you safe journey. It is coming to the final state. Wishing you safe journey. Done. Now let me run it again. Run it again. So here the first initial state is working. Then let's say I'm going to select flight. Flight means here in the second box, we'll select 5. T5 is equal to flight. Then it will come to this box, flight. And here go to counter number 161 for flight tickets. Okay. And then it is coming to wishing you safe journey. So now you got a practical demo of it. Now let us also understand few more things. Inside a state activity, okay, there is something called exit. Now, when this exit will work, I am going to show you. Okay. Now here, look at it. This is the state, right? Input dialog box. Now this exit will only when it will come when you are exiting. Let's say you have made a choice, bus, train or flight. So whatever choice you have made, you are going to exit out of the state. You will go and enter a different state. So while you are entering a different state, it will work. If it doesn't enter any state, the activity that you're keeping here is not going to work. For example, very important point. So don't think if the activities, let's say you have kept some activity here, message box or something. Don't think after this activity it is going to work. No, it doesn't work like that. It is not a sequence. This is going to work when it enters the state. This is going to work when it exits the state. I mean, when it is going to either bus state, train state or the flight state. That is where the moment while it is going, before it reaches there, it is going to appear. Now, for example, let me show you. I'll have a log message. Okay, this is generally you can utilize for log messages. So here I'm saying exiting the what is the state? This one state exiting the what state? Input dialog state, right? Input dialog state. So here I'm just asking a input, the travel input dialog, right? So travel input dialog state, log label info. Okay. Now let's look at how this is going to work. Save. Let me run it. Welcome to travel agency customer care. To continue, click on OK. Done. Now here, look at it. Look at this area because I've created a log message. If I'm selecting train, let's say. So what would happen? This state will get exit because the train is there. So condition is train. The travel choice is train. Then it will come to this particular state. So before it reaches the state, it will write the log message. So for example, if I click on OK, see it has written exiting the travel input dialog state. So it has written a log message. So while exiting whatever activity that you have kept, it is going to work. During the execution, it doesn't work. While exit, we have made a choice and it's going to a different state. And that time it will check in the exit box if there is something. So you can see there are two circles. That means I'm using an entry box here. Here I'm using entry and the exit box. You can see there are two symbols. So before you enter here, it is showing the message. Otherwise, that exit box won't work. While exiting only, it will work. Remember this important point. Now go to counter number 131. I got it. And after that, it will come to final state. Wishing you safe journey. Getting it? So now you have got a demo of it. Now, what are the key points? See, at the end, after you have learned all of this thing, what is important is getting the key points. What are the key points? This is very important. Now, I will go to UiPath Academy and show you what are the key points. Okay, the important key points. Now you have seen, I'll read through because it is linked to directly. Okay, leave that. Leave that. So there are three different sections you have learned: entry, exit, transition. Entry section contains the activity that are to be performed when the state is entered, when you enter into the state. Okay. Exit section contains the activity that are to be performed upon exiting the state. That this demonstration I've given you. While exiting only, it was writing the log, right? While it was in that state, it doesn't write. It doesn't work. Only when it exits out of the state, it was writing. Then transition, where you provide the condition. Section lets you add activities that will be performed before switching from the current state to the desired state. So some condition that you provide here. Add activity that will be performed before switching from the current state. And in this transition, there are also a couple of other things, trigger and other options are there. We will discuss that. But again, you understood there is a box in the transition called condition box. A transition are created when you link a state to another state. When they are created, when you're linking it or to a final state within a state machine container, as observed, the condition to transition to destination state, the heat state. For example, when you are writing a condition, that means you're putting a condition when I should go to the next state, like bus and train and all those states we have created. So you had put a condition. Travel choice was bus, so you go to bus. Travel choice was train, so you go to train. Right? So this is a condition, very important property. Now look at the note. This is important. While on the air conditioner is the either in the transition state as the air conditioner process is continuous. No, not this one. I think this is the note. This is the note. Look at it. I'm going to read it. When any non-numerical input, this is about the example given in UiPath Academy. Final state workflow. Okay, leave that. This is important. Yeah. You can only create one initial state. Very important point. Make a note. What is that? The very first important point is you can only create one initial state. That means because there is one start node in the state machine scope, the first state machine, the state activity that you have connected to the node, so this becomes your initial node. So you can only have one initial state. This you might have seen a question in the practice test. Okay, very important one. You can only create one initial state. Okay, important point to note. Next, yet it is possible to have more than one final state. Another important point, possible to have more than one final state. Next, all state machines must contain an initial state. At least one initial state you should have, right? It has clearly mentioned. You can only create one initial state. All state machine must contain an initial state. So how many initial state you can have? Only one, and at least one final state. Final state, remember the final state you can have multiple. You can have more than one. Remember, you can have more than one final state, but you can only create one initial state. So at the end, what they are saying, one initial state you should have in a state machine project, and one or more final state you can have. This is a very important point. In the practice test and a couple of other areas, you will see this question. Okay, very important statement. Very, very important statement. Okay, so this we have learned, right? These are the important points that you have learned. Now I'll stop it here, and I'm going to create some questions for you. I'm going to show you the questions in the practice test on the state machine. With this learning, most of the questions I think you will be able to answer it. So let's see how you are performing in those question sections. So let's move on to our next topic, guys.